Well, Bernie Tourish and the Four Lads recorded it. Bill Randall used to play it all the time on WRMR when we were on WRMR. So I don't know if Bernie is listening or not. He's got to be at least 80 years old or later in his 80s. But the first time I met him, to be talking to a Corrigan that's not a lawyer or a judge.
An engineer, physicist.
An engineer.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the guy that produces the industry. All these lawyers do all to take the money away from industry.
That's right.
That's right.
Sorry, everybody,
Well,
it's a lawyer.
Figure out how to sue us all. So, Peter, this is the career you think for until you retire now. Huh?
The teaching, yeah.
You love the teaching.
I do. And they're great kids. I mean, they have a lot of energy, they have a lot of curiosity, and they're very receptive to the teaching.
There's a lot of satisfaction.
It's super.
If you see somebody that leaves that program and becomes hugely successful, there's a lot of gratification in that.
And that's already happened to me, so I'm very happy to see them come out and actually keep going with the businesses they started. So.
You know, my dad taught, I think I told you, taught for 45 years.
Yeah.
And it was compulsory retirement. When he was 70, he had to retire.
Wow.
But he says, I wish I didn't have to retire. He said, I just
Wow.
love this teaching.
So, wow.
So I think that's what it is. But, you know, the teachers in America today, there's some real problem in the teachers' union.
Yeah, there's some issues. There's some great teachers. I mean, we have great teachers in Rocky River, but there's a split with what they believe, just like everyone else. So
There's politics in teaching, in the teaching profession, right?
Yeah. So we're really fortunate in Rocky River. We have such great instructors. But you know, we want to keep that up. So I don't want to speak for what's going on with the teachers unions, other than, you know, I just hope they don't overstep. I just hope they don't overstep their bounds and.
No, they have it in a lot of places. In New
Yeah.
York, I think it has happened.
Yeah, it's a little
In
bit
California.
crazy. Yeah.
Well, in California more so than New York.
Yeah.
In fact, my two good friends, the Garveys, John and Ann Garvey,
Yeah.
that's Bill Garvey's mom and dad, were both New York City school teachers. And you never met two people more committed
Yeah.
to teaching kids
Yeah.
and improving the lives of kids than those two people. And I have great respect for the teaching profession in New York because of those two people that I've known so long,
Yeah.
because I knew the great characters of John and Ann Garvey.
Yeah, there's great teachers in my background, people that helped me through. I became a physics major because I had a teacher named Father Scharf, who
That's at
taught
St.
me,
Ignatius, was it?
taught me the ins and outs of physics when I was a senior at Ignatius, and I became a physics major because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, teachers are they can really influence kids and influence people.
Yeah, I remember myself going through high school. I was influenced by the poetry teacher, the English teacher.
Yeah.
And I loved poetry from there on.
Yeah. So hopefully we can get back on track.
I hope so. Anyway, hopefully you'll win the school board.
Hopeful. Yep.
Well,
And
keep that school system, the great school system that it is. And then a week from Tuesday in Notre Dame, everybody's invited. The time is
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Regina
on Tuesday, a
Auditorium.
week from next Tuesday at Notre Dame College. A few years ago, we had a big concert at Severance Hall, and Tom Scanlon and I and Packy Highland and a lot of other people participated in it. We put it all together and had a great concert. It was a social event this season. I can't remember the year. We brought the Irish sopranos out from Dublin. And we recorded that event. And this was one of the songs. Now, the Irish sopranos, as you can imagine, were classical, or semi-classical, I would say. And I just saw on the internet the other day one of the sopranos, one of her songs in Dublin right now is number 6 or 7 on the, whatever you call it these days. You used to call things like that the hit parade, but I don't know what it's called now. So Deirdre Masterson is her name. I think this is Deirdre, featured in this classic called O Mio Bambino Caro. Here it is. And this was recorded live at Severance Hall with the Cleveland Pops Orchestra and the Irish Sopranos. Here it is. You hear? If after reading the resume, I think this man should be president. Peter, welcome to the program. Get close to that microphone there.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. I need somebody to market for me.
Yes, indeed. Well, listen, your background is really something: engineering, operations, sales, mergers and acquisitions, international business, and now you're a teacher, a professor at Notre Dame. That microphone, what is it?
I got it.
JC, can you fix that microphone for me? You got it. What a resume. And you have a degree in physics, you have an MBA from Case, you have an executive MBA from Harvard. My goodness, where does all this stop? What about the rest of us?
Well, for me, it stopped about 6 or 7 years ago. We sold our company, so I sort of stepped back from that, and now I'm a consultant and I teach. So I'm having a best time of my life right now.
Well, the main reason we're having you here, though, I was listening to you on the Bob Friends program last week, and you are really a great influence on young people, young entrepreneurs. It looks like you've really taken interest in them. Tell them about the world of business. So you have a big event coming up this week.
I appreciate that. Before I get started, I brought you guys something. There's a couple of guys in the studio here, but it's from Riley's.
Oh,
I don't know if you know Riley's. It's soda bread.
I know them well.
My Aunt Rita Leffel, who's passed, used to make the best soda bread on the west side.
Oh,
She's
really?
no longer with us, so Riley's is the next best. So decided to bring it for you guys, and when we get a break, maybe we can dig in.
Oh yes, that's great.
Let's take a look.
Oh, JC is at it all.
Riley's Irish Bakery.
Yes,
Anyway.
they're a great bakery. I know my daughter Mary goes over there quite often. It's
Yeah.
on Lorraine Avenue.
It's in Fairview Park. It's busy. It's busy.
Fairview Park, yeah.
Why don't you hold that up for us?
Oh yeah, we have to.
Take a look at that, folks.
There we go. So there we go. Thank you.
All right.
Was
We'll take the first bite.
This project you have going next Sunday, I think it is?
It's a week from Tuesday.
A week from Tuesday.
It's a women in business, empowered women in business conference, a panel, and we've invited successful women from Northeast Ohio, presidents, CEOs, owners of their businesses, just to come and talk to my kids. I shouldn't say kids, I should say students, but yeah, we're looking pretty. We're pretty excited for it. The students are looking for how to break through, how to take advantage of opportunities, and how to, I guess, be individuals and stand on their own 2 feet. So that's that would
still.
That would mostly. I mean, that's the gist of it. They have a couple of the speakers that they have some very good personal stories and really triumphing over obstacles. And so I just wanted particularly my minority and my female students to understand that the glass ceiling doesn't really exist anymore, maybe like it used to. So it's good. The kids get a confidence boost from it.
How important is it for young people to be acquainted with business? Because, when I was growing up, Peter, one of the things we were taught, you get a government job, go to work for somebody else. But thank goodness that has changed. And it's changed. I mean, in America, of course, I think it's probably always been get into business, make your way in the world by yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot more interest than there used to be on the entrepreneur side. So I teach a number of entrepreneur classes. I teach a strategic planning class and a couple of other things. But right now, there's a big interest in trying to take over and do things that just don't seem to get done. I have a couple of just really good stories. I have one kid that's just blown through. He's a senior in college. He's already bought 3 houses and he's on his own real estate business. I have another kid that's trying to restart the Maple Heights Little League as a nonprofit. I have 2 or 3 other interesting stories, but in all, I'm trying to get everybody just at least to get started. So in my initial class, I make everybody go and sign up with the Secretary of State and actually open a business. And they say, well, what's the business going to be about? I say, I don't care. First, you're going to get through the obstacle of the government bureaucracy, if you will, the paperwork, and then we can talk about what your business is going to be after that. But right now, let's at least get through that. And usually, what happens is they start the business, and then they officially start the business, and then they start looking for opportunities. And by the time I get to the third or fourth class with them, about half of them are running up and running with something that looks like it might have some legs, I guess.
Isn't that, I
Yeah.
think that's wonderful. And males, females, are you finding any difference between the males and the females' interest?
Not. I'd say no. There are different skill sets. Sometimes there tend to be more females on the graphic arts side. The graphic arts students are just terrific, and a lot of them need some business background or founding. Just they end up going off into that career, and they need to understand how to be independent contractors. So they come to my class, and we teach them those fundamentals.
I suppose computers is a huge part of this. You have to be knowledgeable about computers, don't you? In just about everything today.
Yeah. A lot of the marketing these days is social marketing. It's done online. It's done through the internet. Although we do some traditional marketing, we actually advertised with WHK last week and this week for our event next week. And part of the advertising was a specific assignment for my students to understand what they have to go through to advertise on the radio. So we came in, recorded the ads. We had 3 different students to do the ads, and you hear them running occasionally in the morning, and they'll run for about another week. Yeah, and it's I was really trying to get these kids to reach out and not be afraid. So they came in and they were just all very nervous, very shaky when they're doing the runs, and the technician here just worked them through, and they came out with pretty nice, smooth ads. So I'm very proud of them for doing that.
How did you take this interest in this? Is it, do you think, through your own family, your own kids, or did you, I know your background, we're going to talk a bit about that later, but why did you decide to do this? I'm sure there are a lot of jobs, Peter, that you could be making a lot more money at. You really must love this teaching entrepreneurship to these kids.
Well, I continue to do a small bit of consulting too, but I sort of looked at my whole life and career, and I looked at the first, say, third of my life as education and training, and then the second third is contributing, and the last third is just trying to get back. So it just sort of made sense to me that not to just continue to do what I was doing, but to stop, take a pause, and to start connecting with people to explain to them what's really out there and how they can learn from my experiences. So yeah, it was pretty deliberate to do it that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite pay what I was making before.
No, I wouldn't
but
think
that's
so.
okay.
I wouldn't
It's
think
fine.
so. But the impression in society today is that professors in colleges, a lot of people refer to them as pin-headed professors that are liberal, left-wing, they're not interested in business, they have no interest in industry. This is kind of something different that you're doing.
Well, I get the pin-headed, but not the professor in it all the time. So, no, we have a pretty good, and our faculty has a very good mix of people from different industries that actually are doing what I'm doing. They had long careers. They came to the end of their careers, and now they're doing Let's Give Back. So, I'd say probably 2/3 of our faculty came from the private sector, and so from that standpoint, I think it's a very practical degree at Notre Dame College. We have people that
What do you
know their
call
ways
the
around.
degree? If they go through this and they do it?
The main degree is business management, but this is a co-major in entrepreneurship. So
Okay.
they go through my classes, and they're basically a double major, co-major, I guess is the proper word.
I just wanted to go back here a few years to when you were a kid. You grew up where?
I grew up in Rocky River and Westlake, and it's a big family.
Your
big Irish
dad
family.
was a doctor, an
He
MD,
was,
right?
Yep. My uncle was a judge, and my other uncle was a Monsignor.
And you have a sister, a lawyer, is she on the Supreme Court of
I
Michigan?
had a sister that was the Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court.
That was Maura, was
retired
it?
now. Yeah, Maura. Yeah.
Retired, huh?
Right. She's the.
But
She's,
you didn't get a law degree, did you?
I didn't.
You got everything
I
else.
took the LSAT and I actually got into law school and I just started reading the books and decided it wasn't for me.
But
So
you wanted to do physics instead. Huh?
I did.
You were the budding Elon Musk, right?
Yeah, if I was 25 or 30 years old, maybe. But
So yeah, you grew up that night. Where did you go to high school?
I went to St. Ignatius.
Smart kid. What was your first job?
My first job with a W-2,
Yeah.
where I actually had to, was I worked as a laborer, or the kid that cleaned everything at Bradley Hardware on Bradley Road in Center Ridge, way out in Westlake. So I was kind of the gopher. I had to do everything, clean toilets, and I had to sweep up the shop and everything. I worked with a bunch of guys that were actually pretty smart guys. I liked them all.
You know Mike Gibbons?
I know Mike Gibbons real
I had
well.
him on here and we were talking. He started off as a laborer.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
then he was a cement finisher, and then he became an investment banker.
Yeah.
Kind of parallels here.
My dad figured this all out somehow, but I think Mike Gibbons and I share like a great grandfather.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure how, but I know we're cousins somehow.
So the first job, you were made to do everything.
Right, but before that, I worked for my uncles. My uncles were all carpenters and contractors.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my uncle Franny. Their last names were McCrone. And my Uncle Franny had me working on the job site when I was 14. I was driving a backhoe for him when I was 14. Yeah, I mean, it's just get up there and start doing it. And like,
Yeah.
Sure. And
Sounds a lot like Mike, huh?
right.
All right, when did you start taking an interest in business? Where did your business career start?
Well, I started as an engineer, and I was
So you're a
Physics degree.
Are you civil or mechanical or?
I'm a physicist.
Oh,
So
okay.
if I had to describe it in one area or other, it'd be an optics engineer, high energy,
Okay.
like light transducer technology type stuff. So I started with Victorine, and they're a high range radiation equipment company. They were at the time, and we were handling radiation detection equipment for nuke plants and research facilities. And I went from there to Picker, which is now Phillips, but at
Picker X-ray.
yeah, I worked on MRI equipment. I was a test engineer for MRI, and then I became the radiation physicist for our gamma camera lines. So I was doing all of these, and then I went to a blood chemistry company. I worked at each place, 3 or 4 years, and the one common thread between all of them was I just felt like management wasn't serving the business as much as it could. So I went to business school, and I started to get a founding in that.
And this way you got your MBA?
Yeah, I got my MBA from Case,
Yes.
and
And
then
then
when
one from Harvard?
I did that later. It was
Okay.
it's sort of the best way to describe it is the executive MBA at Harvard. They call it their AMP program, but it was a little bit redundant. But the people I worked for, they were in Manhattan, private equity people, and they wanted me to get credentials from Harvard, so I did.
Listen, we're going to take a break here, and we're going to come back and talk about your career. I know you were in South America for a while.
I was.
Oh, I want you to tell me all about that. I'm so interested in that.
Okay.
Patent golf outing.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I just saw the sticker on there. Tom listens to us every
Yeah, he's a
every
great guy.
Sunday. Tom is wonderful.
Great guy.
Peter, you are running for the school board in Rocky River. So I know you're
Yep.
a man that definitely is interested in education, and we all know how important it is to a person today, a young person. You can't go anywhere in the world
Right.
without some semblance of education. What about this critical race theory? How destructive is it?
I have opinions about it. Other people have other opinions as well. Our platform is really to just try to get back to the basic educational curriculum. The math, the science, the biology,
Reading, writing,
the
and
physics.
arithmetic.
Yeah,
Three
yeah,
hours.
and it, there's, there's a real feeling of disquiet, uncomfort with the fact that not only has this begun to move its way into the curriculum in these various school districts. I think the thing that has gotten people unnerved is when students were at home with the lockdown and they were taking the classes on Zoom. I think parents started to see some of the things that were being taught, and for where I come from as a customer of the public school systems, somebody that's taking students that I hope are going to be educated in just being able to write a paragraph when they get to me in college. I just really feel that the school district should be concentrating on those subjects. When I look at critical race, it's a questionable thing. I think it's based in the theory that our society is constructed on racism, and I just kind of go back to my own roots in Ireland, where we had a family in the 1840s and 1850s, and they weren't thinking about racism. They were looking for freedom. They came here. And I look at what we were doing 200 years ago here in Ohio, and I don't think the people here were thinking about racism. I think they were thinking about shooting rabbits so they could eat. So it's sort of evolved into something that I think it's become more politicized than the value of what it really was meant to be. And there's a lot of distrust. And in our school district, there's a lot of distrust and suspicion of the school board. And it's not just for critical race. It would be for 4 or 5 issues. We had a problem with teachers in the system that were acting inappropriately. We had this problem with critical race. We had a drag queen story hour that was published online, and it was a Zoom call, and it was for families, and I think people kind of said, wait, what is that all about? And then we have the levy that failed. We have financial situations that have to get resolved in our district. So there's a whole batch of problems in Rocky River, and the constant theme is the citizens of Rocky River are now, there's this emerging distrust of the school board and the school district. So we need to get that fixed. And some of these involve backing
Rocky
down on
River
some
School
things.
District is probably reflective of a lot of the suburban school system and Cleveland school system also, wouldn't you think? Very similar.
Yeah, to some extent. We've been very successful. We've
Is
had a
it?
really long history of
It's
having
considered a
top notch.
great city.
But now, over the last 2 or 3 years, there are all these things, and now that people are trying to change. And
Do you know what
I
I'm
prefer
thinking?
not to do that.
A lot of the people that are making these decisions now are people that grew up 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Somebody taught them this stuff in school, and they in turn are growing up now, and they want to continue on with those theories like critical race theory. It didn't start today or yesterday. That's my point.
Yeah, I agree with that. It sure feels that way. And some of this stuff is evolving. And I came out of the business sector. Now I'm teaching. I know what it took to get where I got in life and what I had to do, the hard work and everything. And I think we have to prepare students for that. I think if they get out of school with a good founding in science and math, then they have a chance. We're graduating something like 3 to 5% of our seniors in an engineering or technical discipline, and China and India are in the mid-30s. We have 33% of the people graduating from college in India going into engineering. We're going to lose our edge real fast. So I would really, really prefer that our school district focuses on that and prepares kids so that when they come into my environment, I don't have to reteach the basics because they didn't get a good founding in that.
I think Greek and Latin and all those great classic languages are a great thing, and I admire people that get degrees in them. But however, they don't move industry.
Right. I mean, I'm strong advocate of that very point.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, come back and talk some more. It's 10:57 here on for sure. I might even stop out there anyway, just to
Tuesday,
or
Tuesday.
Tuesday, next Tuesday. a week from this Tuesday at Notre Dame College on Green Road,
Right,
right beside what used to be Regina High School.
right. Actually, the event is in the Regina Auditorium. It's in the
Oh, is it?
the old high school auditorium. We have that building now, so it's part of our campus.
Oh, great. So you like teaching.
Oh yeah, I love it. It's a
And you never were a teacher before, were you?
no, not per se. I always had training events and things. But yeah, it was. It's been interesting. I really learn a lot. The kids keep me young.
You learn too. You learn me. My dad was a school teacher for 45 years.
No, I didn't know what district.
He taught in Ireland.
Ah, okay.
I had to go to school to him in the early stages.
He was hardest on you.
Anything I know, and it's not much, he beat
okay.
into me.
Okay.
The teachers in those days, Peter, were a lot different than they are now.
Yeah.
As you got homework, then you went in the next day and he asked you all the questions on the homework.
Yeah.
And he had a bamboo cane.
Ouch.
If you missed the answer to the question, you got a whack at that cane. How would that go over today?
I caught the very end of that at Ignatius with Father Powers.
Was there a bit of that at Ignatius?
A bit of it, yeah, a bit of it. Not much,
really?
but a bit.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought that was in America back in the cowboy.
How do I say it was good-natured?
Oh, it was.
It was good-natured.
Well, talk to me about your world travels. You're a kind of a world traveling businessman, and I see one of the companies you work for was Prestolite.
Right, yeah.
I'm familiar with them because they used to make gas. Didn't make oxygen and acetylene or.
Well, actually, Prestolite, going all the way back, Prestolite was a big conglomerate, and it broke up in the mid-'80s. So the company you're talking about is one of the 5 Prestolite daughters from that breakup. We were the largest. We were manufacturers of motors and starters, alternators, wire harnesses, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The gaskets and the gas company, that was a Prestolite that actually ended up in Cleveland. Ours was in Detroit.
Okay. So you ended up in South America.
I did.
Where?
I did. Buenos Aires,
Buenos Aires?
Argentina. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know, you probably know this, that the founder of the Argentine Navy was from County Mayo?
I didn't know
His
that.
name was Admiral William Brown from Foxford, County Mayo.
I didn't know that. I never saw
There's
that in my travels.
a big statue of him in Foxford, and there's also one in, I think, in Buenos Aires.
I didn't know that though. That's
And-
great information.
And I think it's 10 or 15 years ago, the Mayo Society Convention, which is held every 4 or 5 years, was held there.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You might have been there.
Oh,
then.
when I was down there, I connected up with the Irish Argentine Society and went to a couple of events. But
Right.
yeah, there's a pretty, I won't say it's big, but a pretty healthy Irish environment in Buenos Aires. So lots of people that stick together down there. It's pretty cool. It's pretty.
So
neat.
what was it like doing there? What were you doing there, actually?
Well, so we were a domestic company, and we bought part of a company called Lucas, which later the bigger part was sold to TRW. And we inherited factories as part of that, factories in the UK, in South Africa, and in Argentina. And I went down there specifically to address the troubles in Argentina. I don't know if anybody remembers, but back in the early 2000s, their economy collapsed. They had they were unable to pay their debts.
Why?
There was a thing called the Washington Consensus that loaned them a lot of money in the 90s, and they were just unable to pay it. And then they got into an argument with the Bush administration about paying, and it seems that the Argentines didn't want to pay things back quite as fast as the Bush people wanted them to. And so the people with money started to take money out of their banks. So they had about a $20 billion banking reserve in July of 2001, and it drained it to $8 billion by October of 2001. So the economy just did sort of this fast collapse. And we had a business down there, and wasn't running very well, so I was appointed to go down there and to try to turn it around. And So I found myself down there the very week where they had 5 presidents. I don't know if you remember that story. They kept changing people over. There's a lot of social unrest, a lot of violence in the streets. It was pretty crazy.
Was it a socialist government?
Yeah, yeah. It was at the time, and it
Full blown?
still is. Yeah, pretty much.
Except
Yeah.
not quite as bad as Cuba.
Right, not quite
That's
as bad,
communist.
but it's a one-party control, and they run everything. They manage every little aspect of your business, and even advertising, putting signs on your building. They're charging taxes for, and just right down the line, we paid a lot of taxes.
So, Peter, do you see any parallels to what could happen here with, we'll say, with the way Biden is going on right now? Could we degenerate into that type of problems?
Yeah, and that's the main issue. It's in Argentina. There's an elitist class that runs everything. It's socialism for everyone, but there's a class that runs the system, and they're sort of over and above the socialism. They're over and above the equality. They run things. They're the elites that people refer
The
to.
thing about equality is a bit of a myth, is it? It's a lie.
Yeah, the effect in Argentina was it decimated the middle class. So there was a poor class, and the lines between poor and middle were blurred. But the people that were wealthy down there, they were very wealthy.
So when a socialist promises you everything or an equality for all,
Run,
well, don't believe them.
run.
And
as fast as
destroy
you
that
can.
economy.
Right, and down there, it caused the country to go bankrupt. And I had to manage a business through that. We were trying to we were trying to make and ship, and we were predominantly servicing the South American market. So it was tricky. We managed to get through it.
Well, that was after Peron, was it?
Yeah, yeah,
Eva Peron, and of course
yeah.
the
That was,
Broadway.
yeah. They love her down there. I
Still
mean, she
do,
was-
huh?
Yeah. still
Was
do,
she
still do.
was she a socialist?
Yep, she was.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she broadcasted a very good image for the Argentines, and they loved her. But at the end, the country deteriorated into socialism. First, they had a military junta run the country from '75 to '83, and then that didn't work out so very well. And then they tried to reestablish democracy, and that didn't work out so very well. They had a couple of starts and stops. Washington came in, Washington Consensus, and managed to stabilize things, but then they went into debt. So they're still struggling now.
Where did they stand now?
They're still struggling. The
Monster debt?
yeah. Monster debt, and the exchange rate is over the. When I was down there, exchange rate started at 1-to-1, and when we really went through the troubles within 3 months, it went to 4-to-1.
What is their currency?
It's a Argentine peso.
So it was 1-to-1, and then it went.
It went to 4-to-1, and now it's something like 20-to-1, 24-to-1, something crazy now. I haven't checked in a while.
Now, how does it compare to Brazil?
Brazil is actually moving right. The Brazil government's just kind of embraced business and managed to have good startups. But Brazil and Argentina, they're all part of a bloc called the Mercosur, and they're protectionists. So you try to bring something in, it's a 17% tax. So they work with each other, but mostly they work with each other, and they try to cultivate and develop business amongst themselves. But Brazil's going much better than Argentina right now. Argentina's a great place. I mean, they're great people in Argentina. I just wish they had a better government.
Any hopes for the future for it?
It's
Not as
it's
long
like-
as the communist run it.
They say it's the country of the future, and it always will be.
Gee, that's not very encouraging.
I'm sorry.
All right, let's go over here to the Pogues for a minute, and it's called the Dinglery. Get to it.
Yeah, I've been pretty loyal
He's got
supporter of that.
It's a huge golf outing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. But Tom's very
Tom's
well
one of
loved.
the best.
People really have. I have a lot of time for Tom.
How does that Republican get elected in this Democrat area? They love Tom.
It's more about outreach. I mean, he's trying to. I think Tom tries to advocate for his constituents. I don't think he's advocating for a party. I think he's advocating for what's right for people in my district. So I vote for him every time he's up.
Which it should be.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you a little bit more about South America, because I just worry that what has gone on in South America could creep a little bit north,
Yeah.
right in here, because a lot of young people today, they think that the socialist agenda would be good for America. I don't know why they think that. Maybe it's because they never went through some hard times.
Right.
But Peter, I went through those times when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I lived in a house that had no electricity.
Yeah.
We had no water. We had no bathroom.
Yeah.
And I know I never want to go back to that.
Yeah.
And I worry about environmentalists making extreme demands on us going backwards instead of forward.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
I obviously don't ascribe to socialism. I spent enough time in Argentina where I watched the negative effects of what the government does to the people there, and it's all under the premise that they're doing good for people, and it's going to be equality of outcomes, and it just never is. What happens is that the people that run the country, it's a small group of elites, and it's a small group of political and financial elites, and they have their hands in everything.
So the powerful in the organization, they run it, and people are a lot worse off. Actually, there's no middle ground, is there?
That's what I observe.
So that nice grandfatherly Bernie Sanders, he if he had the chance, he would be a tyrant just like all socialists.
Perhaps so. I challenged Bernie Sanders to run a company. I had 1,200 people, and if I failed, I put people out on the street. And not unlike here, they don't have jobs down there. They're in real trouble. So I had a lot on my shoulders to try to make that company survive. And yeah, I challenged Bernie Sanders to do that. I think the socialism message, the message sounds great, but the practice, the reality just doesn't come
But you
about.
have some of those people in city councils, even around the suburbs here in Cleveland.
Yep.
You have a lot of people like Bernie Sanders scattered throughout the small city councils, like maybe I don't know, Rocky River, Fairview Park,
Yeah.
Lakewood. There are lots of these people that believe socialism is the way to success.
I challenge them to see the world and see what's really happening, see for their own eyes. I mean, you obviously have seen it yourself. We have a great city council in Rocky River. We have, and it's a really a great community. It's something that I've spent a lot of my life there, and I want it to survive or thrive.
And your neighbor also, Westlake?
Yep. It's same, but there are a number of socialists in our race right now, and they have solutions that they think are good for the school board.
But can any of those people point to a real success story for socialism? I don't think so.
I challenge them to do that.
A lot of them use Sweden, Denmark.
Yeah.
That's not
Not really, not so much. Actually, Sweden has one of the freest business environments in the world, more so than us. They have less controls on their business environment than we do. But they point to the socialized healthcare and the education and say, see, there's socialism. Okay, maybe some portions are socialized, but not so much.
There has been a lot of emphasis lately. I listen to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Nearly every day I try to listen to Charlie if I can. I'm in my car driving. And Charlie has been going around the country appearing at school board meetings.
Yeah.
And he maintains that one of the most important things we should be voting on is school board members right now. I was on the internet trying to find out about the people that are running for the school board of the city where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard to get really any definitive information on them where you really know how they're thinking. They obscure it. Why is that? Is it because they know that they'd be voted out if people know that they...
That could be the case. We're pretty plain about what we are. Our website is votecrb.org, and it states actually pretty clearly what we want to continue to propagate. I mean, we like what Rocky River has been about. We'd like to continue that. And our slogan is education, not activism. I see some of these movements to inculcate people into school boards to change the direction as harmful. So we don't want the activism. Of course, we're being accused of being activists because we don't want the activism, but okay.
But I think it's awfully important that people know the people that are running for the school boards,
Yeah.
what their views are.
Yeah, some of it is wrapped in some nice wording, but at the end of the day, you look at the school board and its decisions and ask yourself, whose kids are they? Are they your kids or are they school board's kids? Who's going to be teaching these kids these lessons? Is it going to come from parents or is it going to come from a consultant or a PowerPoint or something like that?
Attorney McAuliffe made a bit of a boo-boo
He
last
did.
week, didn't he?
He did. I think that
He
was
did.
bad.
He said,
So.
you have no right
Yeah.
to,
Parents don't have a voice.
they don't have a voice
Yeah.
in the education of their kids.
Well, I
Right,
was
that's what he said.
stunned by that. I think parents have the entire voice. I mean, for him to say something like that, I was blown away by that.
All right, let's go back a minute. Next Tuesday, a week from Tuesday, your big event coming up at,
It's at 7 p.m. at Regina Auditorium, and it's our Empowered Women's Panel. We're gonna have some terrific speakers, and it's an open forum for the kids. So I'm hoping our speakers have a ball just to really enjoy themselves.
how long will it last? Is there
It'll be an hour,
admission
an hour and a half.
charge or
No,
anything?
it's free. It's free to the
It's free
public.
at Notre Dame College, and
Yep.
that's on Green Road, right beside
Right.
old Regina High School.
Right. It's exactly in front of the main admin building. So.
Where my friend Sister Maureen Burke held forth as the president for many years.
Yep.
She
Yep.
educated a lot of young women there, Maureen did.
And there's still a number of nuns that are working there and teaching, and they're just great people. So
Oh, wonderful, Peter. Let's get back here and play a few